I'm talking about. Time out. Time out. No.
What's up, YouTube? This is Transition Game TV, where we push the pace and get you from point A to point B. And on today's episode, we will be talking about none other than Mr. Skip Bayless. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be bringing a lot of great content to you. Today we're going to talk about Mr. Skip Bayless, somebody that most of you know as one of the co-hosts of the show Undisputed and formerly of the show First Take on ESPN. More recently, he has been working with Shannon Sharpe for the last 7 years, and that relationship has just recently come to the end due to Shannon Sharpe leaving the show. But we're not going to get into that. Today we're going to talk about Skip Bayless and the times that he has actually been right about topics, athletes, and situations in the world of sports. One thing that you have to respect about Skip Bayless is that he doesn't ride the fence. He takes a side, whether he's right or whether he's wrong. And that's what makes him such a polarizing figure in the world of sports. And I think that that's important to mention, because whenever you're on TV, whenever you're talking about sports, it's important that you don't ride the fence and you take a position on a topic. Now, Skip Bayless takes positions and he's not always right. For example, we all know that he was wrong about Tim Tebow. He was wrong about Patrick Mahomes. And yes, he's been wrong about the Cowboys each and every year, it seems like. He picks the Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl, and he hasn't been correct about that. However, there have been times that he has been correct. And so today we're going to talk about the top 5 times that Skip Bayless has actually made predictions about players and had those players prove him to be correct. First on the list for times that Skip Bayless was correct about an athlete was Mr. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts started his college career at the University of Alabama. In 2017, he was able to lead the Crimson Tide to the national championship game. But a funny thing happened in that game. He actually got benched in the second half for Mr. Tua Tagovailoa. And Tua was the one that actually finished the game and was able to lead the Alabama Crimson Tide to the national championship. The next year, in 2018, he was a backup to Tua for the entire year. And then in 2019, he transferred to the University of Oklahoma, where he led the Oklahoma Sooners to the college football playoff, eventually losing to LSU. After his college career, he was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles. And Skip Bayless was one of the first online sports personalities that predicted correctly that Jalen Hurts was not only a great pick, but somebody that was going to have a lot of staying power and a lot of success at the NFL level. Let's take a look at what Skip Bayless said back in 2020 And this video is during the pandemic. As you can see, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe are debating in different locations, because if you remember at that time during the pandemic, they weren't doing the show in studio. So they were doing the show, I believe, in their homes and broadcasting the show Undisputed on Fox Sports 1 from each of their homes. So there really wasn't any in-studio interaction. But as you can see in this video, Skip Bayless correctly predicts, I should say, that Jalen Hurts was going to be a successful quarterback in this NFL. And like I said before, you have to give it to Skip. He's been doing sports for a long time. He's been a journalist, a columnist. He's been around a lot of some of the best dynasties and covered some of the best dynasties in sports history, including the Showtime Lakers, Jordan's Bulls, and we all know his love and infatuation for the Dallas Cowboys. He spent a lot of time around the Cowboys as well. And that's just to name a few. He's done a lot of Olympics, a lot of boxing. He's been around sports a long time. So whether you like him or whether you hate him, you got to give him his props as far as the knowledge that he brings to the table every day when he comes on TV and gives his takes. So once again, let's talk about Mr. Jalen Hurts and take a look at a video of Skip Bayless correctly predicting that Jalen Hurts was a great pick for the Philadelphia Eagles and how he feels like he would have great success in the NFL. Let's take a look at what Skip had to say back in 2020. This is after the NFL draft, before Jalen Hurts' first season in the NFL. Take a listen.
From the start, Jalen Hurts is good enough to be a starting quarterback in the National Football League, and he is good enough to carry a team to the playoffs on his leadership intangibles and his playmaking and simply his killer will, because he will put a team on his back and he will carry it. And Jalen Hurts, I know he had his struggles at Alabama, but if you look at his overall record at Alabama and Oklahoma, he was 38-4. And he played in as many big games as probably any quarterback who ever came out of college football, when you talk about all the big games at Alabama and in the playoffs, and then at Oklahoma and in last year's playoff.
So as you can see, Skip Bayless was on this early. And one thing I have to agree with Skip about is the poise that Jalen Hurts has. He carries himself in a way that you would want your starting quarterback to carry himself, not only on the field, but off the field, at the podium, when he's doing interviews and things of that nature. He just has a certain way that he carries himself, a certain confidence, a certain swagger. And to me, I loved him out of college as well. I was a little bit sad that he had been drafted by the Eagles, because I'm not the biggest Eagles fan, but I am a fan of Jalen Hurts, and I love seeing him be successful. His first season, he played 15 games, as you can see. He had a 52% completion percentage, which is absolutely not great, but for a rookie, it was kind of expected. He only threw for a little bit over 1,000 yards and had 6 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. In his second year, 2021, he also played 15 games. His completion percentage shot up to 61.3%. He threw for 3,144 yards with 16 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. And then last year, his statistics also improved tremendously. He had a jump in completion percentage to 66.5, throwing for 3,701 yards with 22 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, and leading the Eagles to the Super Bowl, where they would eventually lose to the Kansas City Chiefs and Pat Mahomes. So as you can see in these statistics, not only was Skip Bayless correct, but he was very correct. And you could always tell evidence with a prediction of a football player, especially a quarterback, by the contract that they end up receiving after their rookie deal. And in April of 2023, Jalen Hurts signed a record-breaking $255 million 5-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles, which at the time I believe was either the highest contract in the history of the NFL. Correct me if I'm wrong. You could correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But it was at least one of the highest contracts ever signed by a quarterback in NFL history. So while Skip Bayless has definitely been wrong on things and definitely stubborn about those things when he is wrong, he doesn't like to admit that he's wrong. He'll stick with something till the wheels fall off. He correctly predicted the success of Mr. Jalen Hurts. Coming in, let's talk about the next time that Skip Bayless was absolutely correct. And I know this one might rub some people the wrong way, but we're going to talk about Mr. Russell Westbrook, or who Skip Bayless infamously calls Russell Westbrick. I don't necessarily think Russell Westbrook is a bad player, but I do agree that he's a high-risk, high-reward type of player. And for me, personally, I would not want him to be the focal point of my offense, just due to the fact that he's all over the place. You really don't know what you're going to get. You could have games where he plays great. He's efficient. He keeps the turnovers down. He's making his threes. He's making his free throws. He's making, exciting plays. And he's helping his team win. But then there's other games where it seems like it's just the exact opposite. He's all over the place, turning the ball over, just weird decisions with the basketball, not really understanding the situation at hand, whether it's a shot clock situation or when to shoot the three, or when to not make a pass or not, or when to attack. Just different things that you don't like to see from your point guard or your lead ball handler in those situations. But let's take a look at a video of Skip Bayless talking about Mr. Russell Westbrook and how he feels about him. And then we'll talk about a little bit about why he was correct about Russell Westbrook. Check out this video.
Russell Westbrook has loser intangibles. It's not about winning. It's about starring. It's about statting. You just can't overcome it. It's impossible to win with Russell Westbrook at the NBA level. I was blindsided. I was dumbfounded when the team I picked to win it all said, yeah, we'll take Russ because we need Russ. You what? Paul George. He said he had his best regular season ever playing alongside Russ in Oklahoma City. He said the Clippers need a floor general. He was the one who campaigned the hardest for adding Russ. And I'm saying, a what? You mean you need a court jester, not a floor general, right? A court jester.
So as you can see, this is how Skip Bayless feels about Russell Westbrook. He's kind of called this from the time that Russell Westbrook was in Oklahoma City playing with Kevin Durant. He couldn't really understand why Russell Westbrook was taking more shots than Kevin Durant, which if you really understand the game, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, why would Russell Westbrook take more shots than Kevin Durant? Kevin Durant being one of the most efficient players in NBA history, one of the best scorers that we've ever seen, can score at all three levels, whether it's at the rim, in the mid-range, or at the three-point line, a great three-point shooter, and just a high IQ basketball player. Why would Russell Westbrook be taking more shots than a Kevin Durant? Especially back then, Kevin Durant was closer to his prime. He's a little bit older now. I'm not going to say he's not in his prime, but he's definitely on the tail end of his prime. But Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, they had a fairly successful playing relationship in Oklahoma City, reaching the finals, but losing to LeBron and the Heat. I believe that was 2011 or 12. 2012, I think. I think 11 was when Dirk had beaten the Miami Heat. But I believe, you guys can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 2012 where they won that championship, Bron's first championship against KD and Russell Westbrook when they were in Oklahoma City. But just to give you an example of how up and down Russell Westbrook can be, there was a game this past season when Russell Westbrook played for the Clippers. And after the game, on the left, you could see Russell Westbrook had a great game. 36 points. He shot a high percentage. He was 5 for 5 from 3, which probably hardly ever happens for him. Only 2 turnovers. And then 2 days later, he only had 4 points. He was 2 for 8 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3, 5 turnovers and minus 10 plus minus. This is kind of what Russell Westbrook is. He's a feast or famine player. He's too inconsistent. Play by play, quarter by quarter, game by game, and season by season. You just don't know what you're going to get. When he's great, he's amazing. But too many times, he's also just a mess, honestly, especially in tight situations where you need him to make better decisions with the basketball. So I know you guys might not like that, but Skip Bayless, Skip Bayless, Mr. Never played basketball at a high level. Shouldn't know what he's talking about. He's just a little geeky guy that talks about sports. He was right about Russell Westbrook, whether you like it or not. The next time that Skip Bayless has been absolutely right was about Mr. Tom Brady, the GOAT. Tom Brady, as you know, has now retired, but there's no question in my mind that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever live. I know Patrick Mahomes might have something to say about that when his career is over. Pat Mahomes is a great quarterback, but he still has a long way to go before accomplishing the things that Tom Brady has been able to accomplish. As a guy who came in as a 7th round pick, I believe, was picked 199th in his draft or something crazy like that. I mean, everybody missed on this guy. And his self-belief and his hard work led him to have one of the most, if not the most, successful NFL career in NFL history. Skip Bayless predicted that Tom Brady was the GOAT years ago. And we're going to see here in this video just exactly what Skip Bayless had to say about Tom Brady. But it's pretty evident that Skip Bayless was correct.
So, here I go.
Okay.
I have tried to warn you all
playoffs long. I tried to tell you again and again and again, there is one man in sports you do not bet against.
Bill Belichick.
And his name is Thomas Edward Patrick Brady. I warned you 3 times, and once, twice, 3 times a patsy were you because of the ultimate pat. Thomas Edward Patrick Brady. He did it to you again. When you least expected it, when you most were ready to bet against him, he turned into Michael Jordan in sheep's clothing. He turned right into that cold-blooded assassin disguised as the corny dad who lives next door.
Wow.
Tom Brady now has 6 rings thanks to 6 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter or overtime. That is impossibly, unbelievably, astonishingly all-time clutch. And he did it again last night up against his greatest degree of difficulty. I told you on Friday this would be his greatest challenge in a Super Bowl.
But he had his worst
I think it's my turn. I think it's my turn. Wade Phillips has always had Tom Brady's number. Last we saw that in the AFC Championship game following the 2015 season in Denver, right?
Yes, correct.
Wade Phillips has had Tom Brady's number because Wade Phillips knows how to play Tom Brady, especially if he's got the firepower to play him. He has the best defensive line in football, and he has the best cornerback tandem to me in pro football between Talib and Marcus Peters. So Tom Brady was really up against it last night without a single deep threat. His deep threat from last year was a Ram last night, and you just talked about him, Brandon Cooks. His deep threat from most of the year was a kid named Josh Gordon, who's back in rehab, unfortunately for him, after 11 games as Brady's quote-unquote quasi-deep threat. Last night, Tom Brady beat the Los Angeles Rams without completing a single deep pass to his quasi-deep threats that he has. Chris Hogan caught 0 balls last night. Philip Dorsett, the one Patriot who can run a little bit, caught 0 balls on 0 targets last night. 0 targets. And what happened when you least expect it? Michael Jordan happened. All of a sudden, with the money on the table, with the stakes the highest, with the Super Bowl teetering at 3-3, with 9:43 left in the fourth quarter, 3-3. I think this is when the money's on the table. This is when it's time for somebody to take over the football game. Lightning struck in the name of Thomas Edward Patrick Brady.
Now, what did it for me, you know, I always respected Tom Brady. I was never, and I can't say, I would say I'm more of a fan now than I was then. But when he came back in that Super Bowl from 28-3 with a little over a quarter left, that sealed it for me. I had never seen anything like that in a Super Bowl. And for everybody to kind of want to put the nail in his coffin and for him to come back like that, that's what made me say, personally, that Tom Brady is definitely the GOAT in the sport of the NFL, in the sport of football, at the quarterback position. Now, you could argue, is he the greatest NFL player of all time? I wouldn't go that far. Obviously, he's the quarterback, so, you know, that's the premier position in the sport. But there have been other guys who are just been special players on that football field. Lawrence Taylor comes to mind. Jim Brown comes to mind. Deion Sanders comes to mind. And that's just off the top of my head. You know, Jerry Rice can definitely be argued as the greatest football player of all time. Just the things that he was able to do consistently over his entire career, even into the age of 40. But Tom Brady was able to play past 40 and still win Super Bowls. I think he won one Super Bowl after the age of 40 in Tampa. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can tell me in the comments. I'm not sure how old he was during his last Super Bowl win with New England, but it didn't take him long when he got to Tampa Bay to bring that ring home. So once again, Skip Bayless was absolutely right about Tom Brady. If anybody, you know, they debate this stuff so much on TV, and I know it's hard for some of you people to give Skip Bayless his props because of how you look at him as somebody who wasn't a professional athlete and he's just a nerd looking guy. You got to give him his props. He does know sports. He's been around professional sports for longer than a lot of you have even been playing or even been alive. That being said, let's move on to the next time that Skip Bayless was absolutely correct. And that's Michael Jeffrey Jordan being the absolute undisputed GOAT of the NBA. It's not even a question, guys. I mean, come on. Are you serious? Are you serious? Are we really having this conversation? I mean, there's so many things you could point at that make it obvious to me that Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Statistically, the winning, the swagger, the influence on pop culture as a whole, how he was able to globalize the game, just to name a few. I mean, obviously, I'm old enough to remember, and I grew up during that era. People that know me know I'm a huge Lakers fan and the biggest Magic Johnson fan. And there was a point where I used to actually root against the Bulls because I didn't want Jordan to catch Magic in rings. But he caught him, he passed him, and he did it in spectacular fashion. And if you were there to see Michael Jordan during his time in the NBA, there's no question that he's the greatest NBA basketball player, the greatest NBA ambassador. He just represents the NBA on all levels, whether it's the shoes, the branding, the way he carries himself. You just have to admit that there's no question he's the GOAT. I mean, as you can see, Michael Jordan never lost 3 games in a row for like 8 years. I mean, you can't be for real, man. That's an unbelievable stat. To have no period of time where you lost 3 games in a row for 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons in a row. I mean, that is truly dominant. And that's just one example, guys. I mean, Michael Jordan and the things that he's done, it's just unbelievable. And he's definitely the GOAT. Skip Bayless knows it. Most people know it. I know some people like to argue differently and choose others. I won't say who those others are. We'll get into that in a second, but those others really are no comparison to Michael Jeffrey Jordan, number 23 of the Chicago Bulls, the absolute GOAT of the NBA. And Skip Bayless was absolutely, positively correct and has been correct for a lot of years. I know a lot of people don't like Skip Bayless, but he was correct about Michael Jeffrey Jordan being the absolute GOAT of the NBA. And now, for our final time, we save the best for last. This is for all you LeBron James lovers. LeBron James, one of the greatest players to ever play in the NBA. Somebody who has amazing statistics and continues to play even at the age of, he'll be 39 next season. Just a remarkable player on the basketball court. For me, not only is LeBron James not the GOAT, as Skip Bayless has been telling us for years, I don't think he's the second best player as far as the GOAT conversation goes that I've seen. But we're here to talk about Skip, not me. Skip Bayless predicted, even back on his time at First Take with Stephen A. Smith that LeBron James is not anywhere near the level of a Michael Jordan and shouldn't even be mentioned in the same breath of a Michael Jordan as the GOAT of basketball. Let's take a listen to see what Skip Bayless had to say back when he was on First Take with Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A., I think that LeBron James just might be the greatest stat sheet stuffer we've ever seen. I think as a stat machine, I think he's beyond Michael Jordan. I think he will eclipse Michael Jordan in every statistical category. But you know and I know, it doesn't matter. We don't care. We all accept that. We accept he's the most talented player by far in today's game. Talent-wise, he's probably beyond Michael Jordan. He's a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, a little stronger. But so what? Because he's the un-Jordan, obviously, when it comes to clutch time, to winning time, as Magic Johnson used to say it. And to me, I'm back to my new expression. Not amnesia, it's labresia.
So as you can see, Skip Bayless was calling this out years ago. Even when LeBron James was playing with the Cavaliers and the Heat and started getting those comparisons to Michael Jordan, Skip wasn't having it. And he shouldn't. It should be obvious. There is no way that LeBron James is the GOAT. I know some of you will disagree. You can tell me what you think about this argument in the comments. I think this is one of the most talked about topics in sports. But Skip Bayless was ahead of this a long time ago. And if you really just watch their games and watch them really truly, like not just highlights, even though Michael Jordan's highlights destroy LeBron James' highlights, in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. If you could just, what they call the eye test, just eye test it. Michael Jordan is on another level, man. I mean, Michael Jordan is, come on, that's MJ. What are we really talking about? But Skip Bayless has stuck on that side of the fence. He hasn't rolled the fence. And that's what you got to give him credit for. And even recently, after LeBron James passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the most points in the regular season of the NBA history, Skip Bayless once again reiterated that even though LeBron James broke that record, he's still not the GOAT of basketball. Let's take a listen and see what Skip Bayless had to say a few months ago after LeBron passed Kareem on the all-time scoring list.
But let's frame this with the fact that now LeBron is the all-time point scorer, yet Michael Jordan won 10 scoring titles to LeBron's 1, 10-1.
Yeah.
And there is this other end of the floor called defense,
Yeah.
and Michael doesn't get nearly the respect he deserves.
He won Defensive Player of the Year.
He won Defensive Player of the Year, but nobody ever talks about it. He was the steals champ of this league 3 times to LeBron's 0. And he made first team all defense 9 times to LeBron's 5 times. First team, we're talking about first team all defense,
Yeah.
9-5. And LeBron's played much more basketball, obviously. So you step back from this and you say, well, LeBron's a great passer. I would say he's the best passer. He continues to be the best passer in the game. If Michael Jordan had wanted to be LeBron James, he would have been LeBron James. But they didn't ask him to be because he didn't want to be.
So what if
Your favorite online TV sports personality. Michael Jordan is the GOAT. As you can see, we got a little comparison here with accolades. You know, it's just another example of what Michael Jordan was able to accomplish. In 11 healthy seasons with Chicago, he won 6 titles. LeBron James, 11 healthy seasons with the Cavs, he was only able to get 1 title. And that's just one example, guys. That, as you can see here, the accolades. I mean, LeBron still has some catching up to do, and he doesn't have a lot of time to do it. 4 finals wins, but 6 losses, while Michael Jordan has 6 wins and no losses. A lot of people go there first with their argument. I really don't go there, but I could, and it's absolutely valid. That LeBron James is he's just not on that level, man. He's up there, but he's still not on the level of the greatest basketball player of all time, the GOAT, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. So tell me what you guys think in the comments, whether you agree, whether you disagree, about either Jalen Hurts and Skip Bayless's prediction about his career before Jalen even stepped on the field. Whether you agree or disagree about Russell Westbrook. I know a lot of people have strong opinions about Russ and his game and what kind of player he is. Tell me what you think about Tom Brady and what Skip has always maintained with Brady and Brady's career. Tell me what you think about the MJ and LeBron. You know, whether or not you think MJ is the GOAT or not, or whether or not you think LeBron is the GOAT or not. Some people don't have LeBron or MJ as the GOAT. That's a small percentage of people, but you know, tell me what you think in the comments. Once again, this is Transition Game TV, where we push the pace and get you from point A to point B. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll check you guys out next time. Peace.